Greetings, mighty companions. Anna Kujawa here, and we are doing Miracle Mondays here from Miracle Park today because we've got a snowstorm going on here in Evergreen, and so we are here at Miracle Park. So on Mondays, I always do Miracle Roulette, where we allow Spirit to decide for us what we hear from A Course in Miracles, knowing and trusting that Spirit, the self that we share, knows exactly what we need to hear, exactly when we need to hear it. The Holy Spirit, our higher self, is a love genius. It knows exactly what our call for love is. It knows exactly what the problem is. It knows exactly what the answer is. And it knows exactly how to give you that answer in the way that you would be able to receive it. And that is the teacher and the spirit of guidance that we call upon today as we ask the self we share to decide for us what we hear in A Course in Miracles. So I'm going to lead us through a guided meditation, an opening meditation for a few moments, the purpose of which is to allow our minds to come to rest and open, that we might ask the Spirit for the Spirit's answers, and that we might open our ears and open our hearts. So, so we're going to do that for just a couple of minutes, and then we're going to see what section the Spirit has chosen for us. All right, so go ahead and close your eyes and take a breath. I'm just going to allow our minds to come back home to the present moment. We bring our minds out of the past, remembering that the past is gone. The past is over, it can touch us not. And then we bring our minds out of the future which has not happened yet. And we allow our minds to come back home to the right now, that they might breathe the rarefied air of the holy instant, where all power resides, where our source resides, where all of our answers wait for us. The holy present, the powerful present, the only time there really is, and the closest approximation of eternity found in time, the right now, the present moment, this holy instant now. Breathe it in. What does it feel like to just be present right here, right now? What does now feel like? Now. Only now. Still now. And tuning into the present moment, see if you can feel for and detect the presence that lives in the present. Feel for that presence. Open your heart and your mind to feel and sense the presence that lives in the present. What does it feel like to be indwelt by a presence? A presence that is always within you. What does it feel like to not be alone from the inside out? Let's just feel that and enjoy that. Revel in that. Let yourself be healed by that sensation, that awareness of not being alone from the inside out. This is the awareness that heals. This is the choice to perceive correctly. For you are not alone, and you are indwelt by Spirit. And how does it feel to feel not alone from the inside? Breathe it in. Let yourself be healed. Let that sense of isolation and loneliness and separation and fear be healed, be corrected, be undone by the awareness of the truth that you are not alone. The truth of unity, the reality of oneness, is the healing truth that heals everything, all that is broken, all that is sick, all that are lonely. We are one self, united with our Creator, at one with every aspect of creation. That is the truth that sets us free. We are one self, united with our Creator, at one with every aspect of creation. One self, one love, one truth, one spirit, one mind, one source, Breathe that in. One self, one love. There is no separation. No loss. No death. Fear is not real. Beautiful. All right, when you're ready, take a deep breath. Bring your awareness back to your body in this place. Yawn and stretch. Wiggle your fingers and your toes. Wow. All righty. Thank you. Carla right off the bat goes, "You're innocent and worthy." Right up. Thank you. Thank you, Carla. How'd you know we were going to be talking about? And hi, Deborah. Lovely to see you. All right. Okay. Wow, that felt so good. It felt so good. That's how we heal. That's how we practice A Course in Miracles. A Course in Miracles says our one problem is separation. We think we're separate. We think we're alone. We think we're on our own. And that's where all of the problems come from. That's where all of the pain and the suffering came from. And so that means that the one answer is to remember and to practice the fact of unity, the truth of unity, even if you don't believe it. We all know we don't believe it. We don't have to. Thank you, Andrew. That was deep. This is good. Right on. How can you tell? All right. Yeah, I love that. All right. So, okay. So that was our prayer to the self we share, the one self we share, to decide for us what we're going to read from A Course in Miracles. I want you to see if you can hear why it was that our one self chose this section for you. See if you can hear Spirit's answer to you. Okay? So I have put in the 31 chapters of the book. Hi, Maya. Hi, Tricia. And I'm now going to do the random number generator, and it's chapter 13. All right. So now we're going to look at...
That's where Earl taught from yesterday.
Oh, really? Awesome. Okay, now we're going to go to chapter 13 and see how many sections are in chapter 13. Greg says that's where Earl taught from yesterday.
More than 8, because he's taught out of chapter 8.
Okay. So you mean section 8? Okay. Chapter 13 has 11 sections. So we're going to put in 11.
Yes.
All right. Okay. So chapter 13, now we're using random number generator, Spirit, aka Spirit, to decide for us which section. All right, 4. So that is And by the way, chapter 13 is called The Guiltless World. Have you heard of Disney World? Okay. Okay, and section 4 is the function of time. Okay, so have you heard of Disney World? We're going to talk about the guiltless world. How would you like to go to the guiltless world on your vacation? How would you like to live in the guiltless world? Well, sounds very fun. It sounds very fun with no price to pay after your fun. How about that?
All-day pass.
Yes, exactly. You know how in the world of guilt, whenever you have a good time, it seems like you got to pay for that fun later. You got to pay on the front end, here's the cash, and then you got to pay on the back end. You're either feeling guilty or you got a stomach ache. So in the guiltless world, it's very different. So in the guiltless world, we're going to talk about a new interpretation of time. So we're going to be chapter 13. We're in the blue covered edition. And the section 4 is called The Function of Time. I just saw the first line, and it's hilarious. Okay. All right, I love it. Trisha says, sign me up, and Trisha says, hi, Greg. Okay.
Hi, Trisha.
Greg
I
says
love
hi.
you. Tell Chris hi, and I love him.
Greg says, tell Chris hi. He loves him. Okay. And Deborah says, so funny. I always hap chance to your message. Perfect time. Beautiful. Lovely. All right. So we're chapter 13, section 4. The name of this chapter is The Guiltless World, and the section is called The Function of Time. And the first sentence, drum roll please. And now, the reason why you're afraid of this course should be obvious. Period. It should be obvious. It should be obvious why I'm afraid of this course. I'm afraid of this course. Have you noticed you're afraid of this course? How do you know you're afraid of this course? Oh, just a teensy weensy little bit of resistance to studying the course. Have you noticed? and then once you study the course, then just a teensy weensy little resistance to actually doing what it says to do. All right, that's how you know that you are afraid of this course. Isn't that deep to hear you be studying a curriculum that goes, you're afraid of this curriculum? What? No, I'm not. Yes, you are. Look at how you either don't listen to it, don't apply it, don't come back to it, don't do what it says, forget to apply it, and then have years where you just forget to read it.
Well, and it teaches you how to recognize your ego, which you never even knew you had.
Oh, well, thank you. The total spoiler alert. Greg just said why we're afraid of the course. Because why? Because it teaches you about your ego that you're in denial that you have.
That you didn't even know you had.
That you didn't even know you have.
You weren't even aware of it.
Yes.
And now that you've been made aware of it.
Yes.
Oh
Ew.
my God, that's in me? Ew.
Exactly. That's one of the many reasons why we're afraid of this course. It says the reason that we're afraid of this course is because this is a course on love. Why? Why is a Course in Miracles on love? This is a course on love. The Course in Miracles is a course on love because it's a course about you. Oh, okay. You're saying I'm love? All right.
I thought I was a sinner.
I thought I was a guilty sinner, and and a loser, and a failure, and a disappointment, and defective, and all kinds of things. Like that's not what I heard about myself when I was coming up until yesterday.
Well, no, up until a minute ago.
That's not what I learned about myself my whole childhood. Up until just now. Until I just heard this.
Right, up until I read this sentence.
Yeah, until I read this sentence. Yeah, you are love. Oh, okay. I thought I was a body. I thought I was Anna. No, you're love. Oh, okay, great. No wonder I have some resistance to the Course in Miracles.
I thought God was love.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what we heard. That's the rumor. Now it says, the reason you're afraid of this course is because this is a course on love, because this Course in Miracles is about you. So all of us who love to talk about us, we love things that are about us, we should be in ecstasy with the Course in Miracles because it's all about us. It says, you have been told that your function in this world is healing and that your function in heaven is creating. So here on earth is all about healing. What's healing? Repair, correction, undoing of the false learning. That's what it's all about here. So in the world. But in heaven, it's not about learning and repair and undoing. And when you're in the real world, it's just about creating. It's not about learning, it's about creating. And it says that the ego teaches that your function on earth is destruction and that you have no function at all in heaven. So the Course in Miracles teaches you that your function here in the world is healing and repair and correction and undoing, and that in heaven it's creating. But the ego teaches you that your function here on earth is destruction. Like, you came to destroy. Here comes Anna to destroy. The ego teaches you that your function here is destruction. Wow. Like getting, sabotaging, attacking, planning, analyzing, defending, getting, possessing. In other words, destruction is what your ego teaches you about your function here on earth. And that in heaven, but you don't have any function in heaven because you ain't going there, says the ego. And so the ego is trying to destroy us here on earth and bury us here on earth. Notice all the cemeteries here on earth. That's because the ego is trying to destroy us and bury us here. That's what the ego tells us our function is here, because that's its function here, to destroy us and bury us here. And not only that, but the ego's function also, on top of destroying us here and burying us here, the ego's function also here is to leave us no inheritance except the dust out of which it thinks you were made. But have a nice day. Okay, if you really knew what the ego was really about, what its function was, what it wants for you here on earth, you would not listen to it when it spoke to you. Obviously, we do not know what the ego's function is and what the ego's goal is because we still listen to it. And long and hard, we listen to it. And we still believe it. And we fall for it, hook, line, and sinker. Wow. But and this is why we're afraid of this Course in Miracles, because it's telling us what our ego is up to. Wow. It totally reveals the ego. Okay, so isn't that lovely to hear what the ego is about? What does it say? It says the ego teaches you that your function on earth is destruction and that you have no function at all in heaven. In other words, that's how the ego is trying to destroy you here. The ego is telling you your function is destruction. That's how the ego's trying to destroy you. And not just destroy you, but bury you here in one of the many cemeteries or crematoriums here on earth. And the ego is trying to leave you no inheritance except the dust that that the ego thinks you were made from. Lovely. Okay, Andrew says, it doesn't sound like the ego is my friend. Very good. Your ego is not your amigo.
If the ego can get us to destroy, then it knows the law of the universe. That's what we're going to get back.
Exactly.
We're going to be destroyed.
That's exactly right. The ego knows if it can get us to act destructively, then that's what we are asking for ourselves, and that is all we will receive and experience. Irene, we are in the blue covered edition, chapter 13, section 4. So 13:4. All right. Okay, should we talk about the ego some more? It's so just inspiring.
So we might as well talk about it.
Can we talk about the ego a little bit? Can we talk about the ego? Okay. All right.
He talks about us all the time.
He talks about us all the time. I mean, this is us to the max. You know, if you only heard how your ego talks about you, oh my goodness. So turnabout is fair play. Let's talk about the ego a little bit. All right. We have been allowing the ego to use us for its purposes for too long. Mm-hmm. So now we're going to out the ego and we're going to take our power back. The ego did not create us. The ego is not our source. The ego is not our identity. And we're not going to allow ourselves to be its slave any longer. We're not going to be the ego's bitch anymore, okay? You deserve better because you are love. You are not a destroying, destructible, made out of dust, temporary thing. That is not, you are not an ego. You are not something that just destroys and can be destroyed and then dies and is buried and is no more. That is not the truth about you. You are love. You are love. Now, we're going to talk about the ego a little bit more so that you can remember, so that we're outing the ego, okay? We're outing the ego because that's the only way. So that's the only way to get to the point where when the ego talks to you and it goes, attack, give guilt, feel guilty, you're guilty, they're guilty, you should feel guilty, you should give attack. When you hear that voice, now maybe you'll remember what the ego wants of you and you will say, no, there's got to be a better voice in there. I have a better voice in there. I have a better voice in me, and I'm going to listen to that. Okay? And then it says the ego can only destroy those who obey it. The ego can only destroy those who obey it. The ego can only destroy those who identify with it and obey it. So if you do not obey your ego, it will have no power over you. So that's why we want to out the ego. Hi, Demi. Lovely to see you. Trisha says, being hyper is the ego that won't calm down. Exactly. Yes, the ego is absolutely anxious. The ego is never calm. The ego's whole range, Trisha, is it goes from suspicious to vicious. Now, none of those states of mind sound calm. Okay, it's either paranoid or it's freaking vicious. That's its whole range. The ego is never calm and kind and peaceful. It's not. Okay, all right. Then it says, as long as the ego is reasonably satisfied with you, because the ego is never going to be totally satisfied with you, because the ego can't be totally satisfied, okay, because it's an ego. It says, as long as the ego is reasonably satisfied with you, as the ego's reasoning goes, the ego offers you oblivion. It says, but when your ego becomes overtly savage, your ego offers you hell. Wow. So when the ego's like, oh, that's good, she's doing okay, she's feeling guilty, she's feeling bad about herself, she's sabotaging, she's being destructive, she's feeling inadequate. Good, I'm reasonably satisfied with her. All right, I will allow her to have oblivion. You know, just meaning oblivious, meaning numb, meaning like a zombie. Oblivious, oblivion, okay? When the ego's reasonably satisfied with you, okay? She's not trying to question the ego. She's feeling good and guilty. She's giving a good bit of attack. All right, I'll let her have oblivion, meaning she'll just be oblivious, okay? You know, watching TV, doing this, just oblivious.
Oblivious to what she's doing.
Yeah, oblivious, exactly. Oblivious to what the ego's doing, oblivious to what I'm doing, oblivious to what's going on.
Just walking around having no awareness.
Just sleepwalking.
Yeah.
Just sleepwalking, like a zombie. Exactly. So the best that the ego will allow for you is just to be like a zombie. Do I have enough money? Do I have enough food? Oh, entertainment. Oh, entertainment. Pleasure. Oh, enough things. Shopping. Oh, oblivious. And that's when the ego's reasonably satisfied with you. Dang. Now, but when the ego is no longer reasonably satisfied with you, the ego goes overtly savage. Dang. And when the ego goes overtly savage, because you're like, what, going to do your workbook lesson? You're gonna question your guilt. You're gonna like wonder, is there anything more to life than shopping and TV And pleasure on the weekends. Is there anything more? Is there anything better? Oh, no, she didn't. Now the ego goes, boom, and it offers you hell. The ego goes from suspicious to vicious. Okay? When you're allowing yourself to just feel generally bad and feel guilty and ashamed and attack and just mindlessly consume, the ego's like, that's all right. The ego just remains suspicious. When you start to question things, could there be more to life than this? Is this all there is? The ego goes overtly savage and offers you hell. Okay, great. Lovely to know about the ego. Tricia says, oh, I see that. Right on. Okay. And Greg says, hello from Greg Holston and Tricia are in the house. The ego is not your amigo. LOLs. Right on. Beautiful. Okay. It's true. Until you really hear what the ego is about, you will continue to let it use you, body, mind, and spirit, for its purposes, which are destructive. Okay, what's the ego's purpose? To destroy you and bury you here, leaving you only the dust as your inheritance that it thinks you came from. All right. And every time you hear that voice that says give guilt, and every time you hear that voice that says attack, and every time you hear that voice that says you should be ashamed of yourself, you're a loser, you're inadequate, there's something wrong with you. Every time you hear that voice and you listen to it and you agree with it and you do what it says, then you are siding, you are allowing your ego to use you for its purposes here on earth. Wow. Now, luckily, that's not the only voice that's in our mind. Luckily, we can learn how to identify that voice and not fall for it, not believe it, and even to not listen to it if we don't want to. And that's our true power, and that's our ultimate freedom. That is our ultimate freedom from the ego, which wants to destroy us and bury us here. All right. Oh boy. Okay. And then Andrew says, you know you're on the right track when the ego gets vicious. That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
We were just saying that today.
We were just talking about that today. That's your clue that you're on the right track. Because remember, when does the ego go savage? The ego goes savage when you go for the truth. That's when the ego goes savage. As long as you're not going for the truth, the ego will remain reasonably satisfied with you. Oh, it's all right. She's totally unconscious. She ain't going for truth. She's just concerned about TV and shopping and being right and defending herself. So we're good. Whatever. She's okay. We'll just let her be, But when you start questioning and you start saying, is this all there is? And maybe there's a better voice to listen to. Maybe attacking and guilt is not going to make me happy. That's when the ego gets overtly savage and offers you hell. So thank you, Andrew. That's exactly right. So if your ego has gone overtly savage and is offering you hell, then know that you did the right thing. You have been questioning the ego and you have said, there's got to be a better way. There's got to be more to life than just satiating the ego and the body. There's got to be more than that. That's what was happening right before the ego went overtly savage.
Hi, honey. How's it going? Hi, sweetie. Want to say hi?
Hi, baby girl. All right. Okay. So now we're paragraph 2. All right. That was only one freaking paragraph. Dang. Paragraph 2. Yet neither oblivion nor hell is as unacceptable to you as heaven. Okay. Wow. Yet neither oblivion nor hell is as unacceptable to you as heaven. All right. Are you telling me, Course in Miracles, that that oblivion and hell are more acceptable to me than heaven? Like heaven is the most unacceptable thing, even contrasted to hell and oblivion? Yes, and the reason why that neither hell nor oblivion is as unacceptable to you as heaven is because your definition of heaven is hell, which means your definition of heaven is oblivion. Wow. What's our definition of heaven? Oh, just oblivion. No concern, no care, no nothing, no, just oblivion. Okay? That's our definition of heaven. And it says, and the real heaven is the greatest threat you think you could experience. Period. Dang. This is some hard, cold truth from A Course in Miracles tonight. Because
I'm hearing it loud and
and
clear.
Greg said he's hearing it loud and clear. And we are so deluded. We have so deluded ourselves. We're like, no, I want love. I want heaven. What are you talking about? I don't want heaven. What are you talking about? I'm afraid of heaven. And that's the ultimate threat. I want truth. I want love. I mean, look at me. I'm seeking love. I'm seeking heaven. And then this is saying, you are, when heaven comes to your doorstep, you freak the F out. Says that is the greatest threat that we think we can experience. How do you know? Here comes love, here comes heaven, and what do? We attack and we sabotage. And why is it that we do that when heaven and love that we say we want comes closer? Because we have defined heaven wrongly. That's why. And we don't recognize it. Wow. And heaven is something that we did not create. The price that you must pay to receive real love and heaven is heaven proves that you were wrong. And I would rather die or be in hell in oblivion than acknowledge that I was wrong. It says, your definition of heaven is hell. The heaven that we're seeking, that's hell. Okay? And it says, and the real heaven is the greatest threat you think you could experience. Wow. Yeah, because in heaven, you're not special, you're not different, and you're wrong. And oh hell no, I'd rather be in hell forever than lose my specialness and be wrong. Just saying. All right. And then it says, and then why is it that hell that hell and oblivion are more acceptable to me than heaven? Why is that? It's because of this. It's because hell and oblivion are ideas that you made up, that you want to be right about. How is it you feel about ideas you made up? You want to be right about them. That's why hell and oblivion are more acceptable to you than heaven, because you made those ideas up and you are bent on demonstrating their reality. Why? To establish yours. In other words, I made up the ego. I made up hell and oblivion, and I am hell bent on demonstrating that they are real. Why? Because that's my way of trying to make myself real, demonstrate my reality. So it's like, it may be hell and oblivion, but it's my idea and I made it up. And I don't want anything to do with heaven and real love and truth and love and peace. That's the ultimate threat, because I didn't make it up. And to experience love and truth in heaven, I'm going to have to realize I was wrong. And I would rather die and really suffer 1,000 deaths in hell and oblivion than be wrong about what I decided was reality. Woo! That's some cold, hard Course in Miracles truth for today. Okay. Now, do you understand why you're afraid of A Course in Miracles? Because Course in Miracles says stuff like that. That's why we're afraid of A Course in Miracles. Because, what? No, that can't be right. That can't be right. I don't want to hear that. That I'd rather die or be in hell or oblivion than accept something that I didn't make up, that proves me completely wrong about everything that I was sure was real and true. No, that can't be true. I'm enlightened. I love the truth. I want the truth. Okay, then why is it that when truth and love show up, you go crazy? Why is that? This is why. We would rather die than be wrong. Greg and I were reading yesterday where it was talking about, it says, perhaps you think that it would be better to be sinful than to be wrong. Remember that from the reading yesterday? And it was like, oh my God, that's how crazy we are. We would rather be sinful than say, oh, I was mistaken. I'm wrong. We'd rather die than be wrong. That's how insane we have become as one. All right. Tricia says, truth. Trish says, oh my God, she's so big. Yes, isn't she huge? Trish says, I think we are so used to being abused that being loved or awesome heaven. Yes, exactly. We're so used to being abused, and we're so addicted to being right about the being abused. Thank you, Trish. Thank you, Greg. We're so addicted to being right. We're so addicted to being abused and being right about how we were abused.
Yeah.
Not what we did to Joanna.
We're so used to being abused by ourselves.
Yes, we're so used to abusing ourselves, but blaming it on someone else. High, getting justified, righteous wrath about how we were abused.
And that's why we're oblivious, because we don't see it, we're doing it to ourselves.
And that's what it means to be oblivious. We don't see that we're doing it to ourselves. And we're so determined and addicted to being right about what was done to us that of course, that's when my Wi-Fi goes out. Right when I'm completely outing the ego to a whole nother level. We're so addicted to being right about what's been done to us, oblivious to what we did to ourselves to them, that when truth and heaven comes along and says, hey, you are so powerful that your mind and thoughts create everything in your experience, then we call that hell. When, thank God, A Course in Miracles is a book instead of a person. Because if a person comes to you and says, oh, my child, you don't realize that everything that you've experienced is exactly what you did and gave, and you're just experiencing that. Isn't that wonderful? Now you can choose again. What do we want to do to that person? We want to murder them.
If it was up to me, I would not create all of this.
Exactly, exactly. So when heaven comes and truth comes and says, oh, you are so free. You haven't even been hurt at all. You're just experiencing what you gave, and all you need to do is forgive yourself, and you can experience heaven. When heaven comes and shows us the truth that we are responsible, that our thoughts have power, and that we call that hell. We feel like that person or whatever is the worst person on earth and they deserve to die. And we attack heaven. We attack the truth. Wow. So to us, heaven is the worst option that you can choose, and hell and being oblivious is a much safer, better choice than heaven and truth. Wow, which shows us that we are responsible. Wow. Now, is it obvious why we're afraid of this course? Is it obvious yet? It's like, you don't understand why you're afraid of the course. And then it goes on to tell you exactly why it is you're afraid of this course. Wow. We're afraid of this course because you have decided that hell and oblivion is safer and better than heaven and truth, which shows that you are responsible and you are powerful, and that you are choosing everything you are experiencing, and you are responsible for what you're experiencing. What you are experiencing is what you have chosen, what you have given, what you have given. Giving and receiving are the same. Right now, we're in so much deep denial that when the truth comes along and reveals to us that all that we are experiencing, we had given and receiving is the same, we feel like we're being attacked. We feel like we're being crucified. And so to us now, heaven is less acceptable to us than hell and oblivion. At least in hell and oblivion, I get to be right about thoughts that I made up. Whew, wait. I'd rather die than be wrong. Wow, that's right. I would rather suffer, and I'd rather sin love away than be wrong. That's what it means to be insane. Just so you know. The Course in Miracles says we're all insane. Not some of us, all of us. Are you here? Are you in a body? Do you ever suffer? You're insane. And the Course in Miracles says we're all insane. Being insane is the ticket into the body. Now, that doesn't, once you're here, that doesn't mean that now being in a body and being here on earth has to, you still have to stay insane. You can now be here on earth in a body and have a different purpose. The purpose of truth and awakening and heaven. And so now, even though you made the body and made your human experience to have hell and oblivion, now your physical experience on earth can have a different purpose, and that purpose can be experiencing heaven. Heaven is a state of mind, awareness of the truth that is universal. So, beautiful. Hi, Bitsy, lovely to see you. And Trisha goes, I'm insane. Thank you, Trisha. See, only someone who's becoming sane would say that. Okay? That's how you know you're becoming sane. You go, wow, I'm insane. I fit all the criteria for insanity. Okay, I must be insane. Okay, great. That's what someone says as they are awakening. Wow, I must have been insane. Gee, I would love to be sane. I'd love to experience the real world. Beautiful. Irene says, being insane is your ticket into the body. Good one, Anna. Exactly. So don't let your ego trick you into comparing yourself with others. Like, oh, they're more sane or they're less sane. Nope, that's a trick. You got a body, you got perception, you insane. Okay? Now, But now we are becoming sane by recognizing we are insane, and we are deciding that we now want to use this physical experience to awaken to heaven, to reality, to the truth. We've decided, I don't want to be destructive anymore. I don't want to be destructive. That's not what I want. So the ego is trying to teach you that your purpose is destruction. Because the ego's purpose is destruction. But then as we awaken and realize, but I'm not the ego. I have a better voice. I am love. I'm not the ego. My purpose is not destruction. It's not to get. It's not to attack. It's not to be right. I am love. And so my purpose is to love. Regardless of whatever seems to be happening in my experience, I am love. And my purpose is to love. Regardless of whatever's going on. Now that is how your purpose in the world is transformed from a destructive one to a healing one, a creative one. Beautiful. Okay, Andrew says, once we admit to ourselves we are insane, then we can see our true need for healing. Exactly. Beautiful. That's right. But we're so insane that we will defend. We don't want to admit we're insane. We'll be they're insane and they're insane, but we don't want to acknowledge that we're insane, even though we meet all the criteria for insanity. But once you can say I'm insane, then now your path is clear. Now you can learn how to be sane. But you can't learn how to be sane if you think you're already sane. There's no need to learn to be sane if you think you already are sane. All right. So realizing that you're insane is true humility. And true humility is the beginning of the opening of your mind to listen to the truth. All right. Greg says, the Creator, I, my brothers and sisters are love. Exactly. That's the truth. All right. Now, it says, for hell and oblivion are ideas that you made up, and you are bent on demonstrating the reality of hell and oblivion. Why? To establish your reality. And if the reality of what you made, hell and oblivion, is questioned, you believe that your reality is questioned. Because you believe that attack is your reality, which means you believe that your destruction is the final proof that you were right. Right. It's exactly what we were just talking about. That hell and oblivion, even though it sucks and it hurts, oh my God, it's horrible. It's saying that we choose that because that's the final proof that we were right. It is, right? Because hell and oblivion, the ego, those are all ideas we made up. And we want to protect the ego just like we're trying to protect ourselves, because we made the ego. Wow. Beautiful. Okay, so that was paragraph 2. All right, how we doing? Deep section today. All right, paragraph 3, chapter 13, section 4, paragraph 3. Under the circumstances, would it not be more desirable to have been wrong, even apart from the fact that you were wrong? Yes, under the circumstances. What circumstances? I'm experiencing hell and oblivion. I'm experiencing zombie-like characteristics, numb, zombie-like, oblivious, or I'm experiencing overt hell. says, under those circumstances, would it not be more desirable to have been wrong? Even apart from the fact that you were wrong, okay? If you're experiencing hell and oblivion, wouldn't it be better to be wrong? Even apart from the fact that you are wrong, that you were wrong, okay? Wouldn't it be better to be wrong about what you thought? Wouldn't it be better to be wrong about what you decided if what you're experiencing is hell? What you're experiencing is hell. You hope to be wrong. Hope to be wrong. When you're going through hell and you're experiencing hell, what we want to be saying is, I really hope that I'm wrong because I do not like the way I feel right now. And the way that we feel right now in that hell, that's the result of wanting to be right. I'm suffering right now because I'm wanting to be right. And in the moment, in the instant when I said, wow, I really don't like the way I feel, I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong about what I decided. I hope I'm wrong about the interpretation. The moment that you hope to be wrong, despite the fact that you are wrong, that's the moment when the turning point occurs and you have now asked Spirit for correct perception to come into your mind. When you say, I hope I'm wrong, what you've said is, Spirit, what is the truth? I don't know the truth. And that is a prayer that can never go unanswered. So tell yourself, the suffering that I'm experiencing right now is my so-called proof that I was right about what I had decided about myself or others. And if I am willing to be wrong about what I decided, then I can receive another interpretation which can bring me peace. So the point here being that if you are suffering, what A Course in Miracles is saying is, that's your proof that you're wrong, okay? Because suffering was not God's idea. Whatever ideas come from God produce only joy and peace and abundance and aliveness and heaven. And so if you're not experiencing joy and aliveness and peace and heaven, that's because you are trying to be the author of reality. You're trying to be the author of your reality, or you're trying to be the author of someone else's reality. Okay? And only if you are trying to be the author of reality and making it up yourself, you who don't love yourself completely, only then are you going to create suffering. If you are siding only with God's truth, the truth of love and unity, then all that you're going to be experiencing is the heaven of reality, the heaven of truth. And so that's what you want to do when you're suffering. You want to say, oh boy, heaven, there ain't no suffering. In truth, there is no suffering. Truth doesn't produce suffering. And so if I'm suffering, that's because I am trying to be right about something. I am trying to be the author of reality. And I don't like the way I feel. And I've learned from A Course in Miracles, I don't have to feel this way. This isn't the only option. Feeling bad and suffering, experiencing hell and oblivion is not the only option. And so I hope I've been wrong. I hope I'm wrong. Apart from the fact that I am, but I hope I'm wrong. And then now your mind is open to receive the truth, to receive the better way that is heavenly, which means feels good, no fear, no lack, no pain. All right. Irene says, ask spirit for correction. Hi, Lee, lovely to see you. And then Irene says, then if I am wrong, I can receive another interpretation. If you are suffering, that's your proof you are wrong. Yes, indeed. Of Course in Miracles says that that pain is proof of self-deception. You got some pain? Does pain seem real in your perception or in the perception of someone else? Pain is proof of self-deception. Pain is proof that you're wrong. Now, when you're tired of suffering, you'll be more than glad to go, I freaking hope I'm wrong, because I do not like the way I feel. So I really do hope I'm wrong. Because now I've learned that when I'm wrong, I get the reward. It's so opposite of everything we learned. In reality, when you say, I'm wrong, I must be wrong, when you're unhappy, bing, there's that the door opens. Okay, so in reality, when you say, I must be wrong if I don't like the way I feel, then poof, you get the reward, which is the truth that brings only heaven, complete fulfillment. I love it. So saying, I hope I'm wrong, is the ticket in to the guiltless world. Okay, everybody lined up for the guiltless world. All right, line forms here. Okay, where's your ticket? Your ticket. I hope I have been wrong. Woo, right on, go right on this way. Okay, next, I'm right about what happened to me. Whoop, reject, go to the end of the line. You're innocent. Next one, ticket, where's your ticket? I hope I've been wrong about what I decided was so that's making me suffer. Great, right on that way. That's the ticket in to the guiltless world, which is the real world. You don't get in to the guiltless world while you still want to be right about what you're wrong about. And what you're wrong about is how what's happening to you, what you're experiencing is happening to you. That's what you're wrong about. You feeling like you're a victim of the world you see, and that you're right in your righteous wrath, and that you're justified in your attack because you are a victim. That is not the ticket in. That is what lets heaven know that you aren't ready for heaven, that you're too afraid of heaven, that you don't want heaven. And then you go back to the back of the line to start again. All right. Okay. Hi, Monica. Monica says, hi, friends. Thank you. This is great news. Thank you, Monica. Thank you for recognizing the good news. That is what this is about. That's my joy and pleasure as a teacher and facilitator of A Course in Miracles, is giving the good news, okay? But notice that for the ego, the good news is bad news. And that's why our egos are afraid of this course. All right. Irene says, pain is proof of self-deception. And Irene says, I hope I am wrong is the ticket into the guiltless world, which is the real world. Yeah, right on. Beautiful. You guys are awesome. I love sharing truth with you guys. Okay, so now we're in paragraph 3. And it says, and we said, under the circumstances, wouldn't it be more desirable to have been wrong, even apart from the fact that you were wrong? While it could perhaps be argued that death suggests there was life, no one would claim that death proves there is life. Even the past life that death might indicate could only have been futile if that life came to death and needs death to prove that that life was at all. What does that mean? That means you question heaven, indeed, but you don't question this. You question heaven, but you don't question the insanity of thinking that death proves there was life. That's insane. It says, we question we question heaven. Is heaven real? Is that for real? But we don't question all the insanity that we have been believing for so long. Okay, that's the position that we're in. Okay, yes.
We question heaven in the way that when a brother or sister comes before us, heaven, that they're innocent.
Right, exactly. We question heaven, meaning we question guiltlessness. But
Yeah,
when
that
guilt
it
comes,
works.
we don't question that at all.
Yeah, we question that it works.
Exactly.
It gives the situation.
Exactly. When the Course tells us, try this, we question that. How can that work?
But we don't question hell.
But when ego comes with attack and guilt and possession, we don't question that at all. We're like, yeah, right on, bring it on.
We immediately go, that makes sense.
We're like, yeah, that makes sense. That fits perfectly with my past. Yeah. So that must be right. Yeah. We don't question the guilt and the hell. We just say, yeah, that sounds right. But then when heaven goes and goes, there is no sin, we're like, I don't know how that could be. Another way of saying we're afraid of this Course. All right. Hi, Terry. Lovely to see you. Okay. So it says, you question heaven, but you don't question hell. Yet you could heal and be healed. Hi, baby girl. But you could heal and be healed if you did question the ego's offering. So when the ego comes, he goes, you know, they did, you know what they're doing, and it's just like what they've done to you in the past, and oh my God, I can't believe they did that, and you know what they did, you know what they did. He says, if you would question that, then you could heal and be healed. Wow. All right. So there's your task, teachers of God, your assignment should you choose to accept it. When the ego comes offering you hell, meaning guilt and sin and attack and defense, your mission, should you choose to accept it, if you want a future unlike your past, is to question that. Question the guilt. Question the attack. Question the fear. Don't question the love. Don't question the forgiveness. Don't question the unity and the oneness. If you could question the ego, the fear, the guilt, the attack, the I gotta defend myself, you could heal and be healed. Beautiful. And even though you know not heaven, might heaven be more desirable than death? Even though you don't know about heaven and you're not sure about it, isn't that maybe more desirable than death? The death that comes from the ego and attack and separation and fear and guilt and shame? Yes, even though I don't know what heaven is, I think that's more desirable than death. Okay. And it says, you have been as selective in your questioning as you have been selective in your perception. Right. I didn't question the ego, but I did question A Course in Miracles. We've been very selective in our questioning. And this is teaching us how to question the ego and be more accepting of heaven and reality, even if we don't understand it. It says, an open mind is more honest than this. All right. Beautiful. That was paragraph 3. All right. So very interesting about how we've been very selective in our questioning. That's right. So now we're going to be more selective in our questioning. So just like, so now when the ego comes to us and has its story about what's happening or what happened and all the reasons that we should be offended and feel guilty and be angry and attack and defend now we're going to be a little more selective in our questioning. We're not just going to accept the ego's hell story without question. We're going to be like, kind of sounds like the ego. Got a lot of anger going on. There's a lot of guilt here. It kind of sounds like the ego. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. Yeah, maybe. I mean, I don't like the way I feel right now. It feels like crap. I'm angry. I'm hurt. I'm feeling vulnerable. I'm suspicious. I feel sick to my stomach. I wonder if that might be the ego. I don't like the way I feel. I'm gonna question that a little instead of just like going, yeah, that's the truth. That's for real. I should be angry. I should be defensive. They are bad. I am bad. Instead of just accepting that hook, line, and sinker. It says an honest mind is more honest than this. It questions the ego just as much. It questions the suffering and the pain and the anger just as much as it has been questioning A Course in Miracles.
Questioning if it's a person, what's the person, could their intent really be different than what you are thinking?
Right, exactly.
Is their motivation
yes, that you're ascribing to
than
them.
what your perception.
Exactly.
Are you open-minded enough to consider other things than what you've set your story on?
Exactly.
Or are you going to question it? I know their intention.
Right, exactly. So Greg is saying that when we're talking about a person, then an honest mind would be questioning, okay, is that really their motivation? The motivation I've given them that I feel really bad and angry about, is that really their motivation?
Ask them about?
Maybe I should ask them. No, don't do that.
No,
Don't do that.
I don't need
Don't
that.
ask them. Don't do something wild and crazy and actually ask them, what's your motivation? So Greg is saying that when we're talking about a person and you're experiencing conflict and upset with a person, then question your perception, question the ego. Do they really have the motivation that I'm ascribing to them that I'm so upset and angry about? Maybe there's another interpretation for why they're doing what they're doing. I mean, maybe I don't know why they're doing what they're doing. Maybe they're doing what they're doing because of some reason I have no idea about.
Exactly.
Maybe they have a stomach ache right now and that's why they ran away when I spoke, whatever. And then God, like Greg said, God forbid you should ask them, what was your motivation? In other words, question your ego, question your ego's perceptions, question hell.
Yeah.
When you're in hell, ask a few freaking more questions. Stop being like, oh hell.
Get here.
Oh, exactly. How did I get here? When you're in hell, ask more questions of the hell, not the truth. Okay? So, in other words, what we've been doing is when the ego would come to us with, in other words, when the ego comes offering us destruction, we've been like, yeah, come on with it. And then, whereas the Course in Miracles is saying, forgive, there is no sin. You're not separate, you're the same. Maybe you're projecting. You're like, You're like, nope, I don't understand what that's saying. I don't have time for my workbook lesson today. We have not been honest. We have been very dishonest, and we've been very selective in our questioning. Not questioning the ego, but questioning A Course in Miracles. And when you're questioning A Course in Miracles, here's how it goes. You'll be like, I don't feel like reading right now. Whatever, I'm just going to watch some TV. Or you open up A Course in Miracles, you're like, I don't understand a word it says. Or you open up A Course in Miracles, and then you fall flat asleep. Boom. That's how you know when you're not being honest in your questioning. You're being too selective. You're not questioning the ego, but you're definitely questioning the truth. Okay, anybody relate to that out there? All right. Okay, beautiful. I love it. Beautiful. Irene says, ACIM has you question the ego and be more accepting of heaven. Exactly. Wow, all right. Okay, I think I'll do maybe one more paragraph and then we'll just pick up next week where we left off. Okay, so now we're at paragraph 4. It says, the ego has a very strange notion of time. And it is with the ego's very strange notion of time that your questioning might well begin. So we're going, remember, we're questioning the ego. That's what we haven't been doing. We're going to start questioning the ego a lot more. Okay? And how do you know when the ego is going around? How do you know when the ego is somewhere around? Well, you know the ego is somewhere around because there's pain somewhere in your perception. Or there's pain in someone else's perception who's around you. That's how you know the ego is around. That's how you know that you have been following the ego and listening to the ego and obeying the ego and them too. Okay? So now we're going to question the ego's notion of time. That's where our question is going to well begin. What about the ego? Well, the ego invests heavily in the past. That's the ego's notion of time. What's the ego's notion of time? The ego invests heavily in the past. Ego's all about the past. You know what happened in the past. You know what's happening now. I gotta protect myself in the past. You know what happened in the past. I gotta make sure it don't happen in the past. That's why I am the way I am now. The past, the past, the past. The ego invests heavily in the past. As a matter of fact, the past is the only aspect of time that is meaningful to the ego. That's all the ego cares about. The past. That's all the ego cares about.
What did you spend meditation totally talking about?
Oh yes. Bring your mind out of the past.
To the present.
Into the present. The ego is all about the past. Okay? Well, you know what happened to me in the past. That's why the way I am now. That's why I gotta do what I am now. That's why I'm doing now. And that's why I gotta watch out for you now. And that's why and that's why I can't say yes to heaven right now.
Right.
That's always the ego story. The past, blah, 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 and that's why I have to say no to past right now. And that's why I have to say no to this curriculum. Okay. The ego's notion of time, the ego heavily invests in the time. So ego ain't gonna let you forget what happened in the past.
Right.
Okay, all right.
Inhale.
It's not gonna let you forget what happens in the past. So every time you talk to the ego, it's gonna be like, well, you remember that what happened in the past, past. The ego's obsessed with the past.
Who wants to come to the present when they can go back to hell?
Exactly. And so the past is the only aspect of time that is meaningful to the ego. Remember that the ego's emphasis on guilt enables the ego to ensure the ego's continuity. How? By making sure the future is just like the past. Oh, that's how the ego does what it does. What's the ego's goal? Make the past the future. Make the future just like the past. Why does the ego want to make the past into the future and the future just like the past? Why does the ego want to connect the past and the future? Why is that? That's because that is the ego's continuity. Because the ego is past. So the ego wants to take itself, which is in the past, and put itself in the future because that ensures the ego will go on forever. Okay? So that's why the ego's emphasis is on guilt. The ego's all about the guilt. They're guilty for that, and I'm guilty for that, and they're guilty because of that, and I'm guilty because of what happened in the past, and they're guilty because of what happened in the past. The ego is all about guilt. Because what is guilt? It's about what happened in the past that you deserve to be punished for in the future. So the ego's emphasis is on guilt. That's what the ego's all about. The ego is all about guilt. Why? Because that's the only way to take the past and put it into the future and make the future in the past continuous. Because that's the only way to keep the ego going. Guilt about the past. Wow. Oh, so that's what the ego's up to. Your ego wants to make your future just like your past. The ego wants to make sure that what you happened in the past that was so guilty is exactly what's going to be happening in your future. And that's all that the ego's about. The ego wants to make sure that all the ways you were hurt in the past, all the ways you hurt others in the past, that's exactly what is going to be happening in your future. Yeah. So feel guilty. All right? So I want you to feel guilty about what happened in the past. I want you to make other people feel guilty about what happened in the past. Okay, so that's where it's at, says the ego. That's what the ego is all about. Wow. It says the ego's emphasis on guilt enables the ego to ensure the ego's continuity by making the future just like the past and thus avoiding the present. Wow. See what the ego's up to? See that? Honestly, but do you really want to have a future just like your past? Do you want that? I mean, think about your past for a second. I mean, I don't know, some people maybe have had an awesome past, but do you want your future to just be a continuation of your past? So think about that. Well, every time your ego is focusing on the guilt, your guilt from the past and their guilt from the past, that's exactly what your ego's up to. But you're oblivious, so you don't know that. And then you walk into your future and go, why is it that now this is just like my past? Why is it that I keep walking forward and into my past? What is going on? Why is it that I just keep repeating these patterns? This is why. Because of your ego's emphasis on guilt and you're siding with it. Wow. Okay. Now, it says, by the notion of paying for the past, the guilty past, in the future, the past becomes the determiner of the future, making the past and the future continuous. That means without an intervening present. Oh, that's what the ego's up to. That my future is just like my past with no intervening present. Wow. Now, that is vicious. Okay? If somebody said to you, hey, I'm going to set it up where all that bad stuff that happened to you in the past is going to be what's happening to you in the future, how would you feel about that person? How would you feel about that? You would be pissed. You would be upset.
And only the bad stuff.
Yeah, only the bad stuff. Only the guilt.
Doesn't bring any good stuff.
The ego does not remember any of the love in the past. That's why A Course in Miracles says forgiveness is just to remember only the love in the past. That's what forgiveness really means. I'm selecting only to remember the loving in the past. Why? Because that's all I want in my future. That's what forgiveness means. So, the ego... Yeah.
Ego's calling.
Ego's calling. I wonder why ego would be calling right about now. I wonder how the ego would feel about the things I've been saying.
Phone hasn't rang all afternoon.
Yes, the phone has not rang
Literally.
all day.
Literally.
Not all day. Literally. Yes. Okay, gotcha. Right. So here's my question to you. Do you want a future unlike your past? I mean, was your past that great? Think about it. Think about it. Do you really want all the crap that your ego is telling you should feel really angry or guilty about? Do you really want that to be your future? Okay. This is teaching us a way to break the cycle between the past and the future that the ego is trying to connect without any intervening present, where you get to choose again, where you get to say, I'm not going to focus on the guilt. from the past. I'm not going to focus on. I'm not going to emphasize. I'm not going to let the ego emphasize the guilt from the past that I should be angry about or defend myself around, because I want a future unlike my past. Okay? So feeling guilty is how the ego preserves the connection between the past and the future. When your ego says you should feel guilty or you should be angry, that's your ego playing you. That's your ego playing you. Why? Because the ego's one goal is to keep its existence going. The ego's one goal is to keep itself going like a parasite. And the only way that you can do that is to make you feel guilty or to attack about the past. Wow. So when the ego tempts you with guilt or attack about the past, guilt of the past, or attack about the past, the ego is trying to get itself, it's trying to continue its existence into the future. It's using you. It's playing you to get its own goals accomplished. Again, it's using you as its own bitch. Okay? That's what's going on when the ego is tempting you with anger or guilt relative to the past. The ego emphasizes the past. The ego is obsessed with the past. That's the only time the ego is at all interested in, is the past. Dang. And if you side with the ego and become obsessed with the past, the attack or the guilt that you believe was deserved from the past, then you are going to be helping the ego to stay alive and stay in business using your mind to do so. And what does the ego do for those who obey it? What does the ego give to those who listen to the ego and obey the ego? What does the ego give to them?
Offers them oblivion.
Hell and oblivion. Here's your reward. The ego says, oh, thank you for letting me use you to keep myself going. Thanks for letting me, the parasite ego, use your body in time to keep myself going. Thank you so much. Your gift is hell and oblivion.
My little zombie.
My little zombie. My little zombie bitch. Wow. See, when you hear what the ego is really up to and how it's using you for its purposes of destruction, then you will say, oh, no thank you, ego. Go F yourself. Have a nice day. You'll say no in the most loving, friendly way with a big old smile. And the ego cannot stand that. The ego will not be able to stand for that. All right. Okay, that was paragraph 4. So I'm going to stop here since it's time.
Read one more sentence.
Okay, great. Okay, thank you. Oh, yes. Okay, so paragraph 4 says, right. It says, because the ego regards the present only as a brief transition to the future. What's the future to the ego? That's the time in which the ego brings the past to the future by interpreting the present in past terms. Oh, the ego is trying to get itself from the past into your future, but by interpreting the right now in terms of your past. Oh, what do you mean by that? So the ego's like, hey, you know what's going on right now? It's exactly what happened to you in the past. Do you recognize that? That's what's going on. What's going on right now? It's exactly the way you were doing undone in the past. Yes, it's exactly what happened to you in the past. It's happening again. So you know how to respond. Guilt, attack. That's what the ego's. That's how the ego is trying to get itself taken from your past and thrown into your future, so that its existence is continuous. Wow. Okay.
The first sentence of paragraph 5.
Yes, in the first sentence of paragraph 5, now has no meaning to the ego.
And that's totally what you were
Saying.
channeling through
Yes.
meditation. Was
That's
come to the
right.
present, come to the present.
That's
Not
right.
alone, come to the present.
Yeah, the opening meditation was all about now, being present now, experiencing the heaven that is now, experiencing the heaven that is accessed through the now. What is real is happening now. Heaven is now. And you can't experience heaven in the past or the future. You can't. And so that's why it says now, this moment now has no meaning to the ego. The ego don't hang out in the now. The ego is like this to the now. Ah! You know, the now to the ego is like garlic to the vampire, right? The ego's like, no, anything but the now, anything but the now, no, no. That's how the ego is about the now, because now has no meaning to the ego. And so the only meaning that the ego invests in now, that when the ego looks at now, the ego looks at now and goes, oh, this reminds me of all those past hurts. Oh, what's happening now reminds me of past hurts. That's the only thing the ego perceives in the now, is how it was hurt in the past. Is that, I mean, is that all there is in the now ego? Is that all you saw? I mean, are you sure there's not some other things in the now ego? Or ego's like, no, the only thing that's now, don't question me, the only thing that's happening right now is what reminds me of how I was hurt in the past. Okay. That's all that the ego reacts to the present as if the present were the past. Wow. The ego does what? It reacts to the present as if the present were the past. Dang, I thought that was only what happens with, vets who have PTSD, where all of a sudden what's happening now completely, they react as if what's happening now is exactly what happened now on the battlefield, and they react exactly like they did on the battlefield. That's exactly how the ego reacts to the present. It reacts to the present as if the present were the past. So even though the present may be very peaceful, no threat, it may be great, having a great time, the present may be actually heavenly, but the ego is reacting to the present as if the present were the past. So that even though you're fully and completely safe in that moment, your body and your ego is reacting as if it was the past. A panic attack, flashbacks, PTSD, as if the past were happening right now. That's how the ego reacts to the present moment. Dang. That's because the ego cannot tolerate release from the past. That's the reason why the ego sees the past in the present, because the ego don't want release from the past. Your ego doesn't want release from what happened to you in the past. Whatever it is that happened to you in the past, it was so horrible. Your ego don't want you to be released from that. Your ego wants that to stay in place. Your ego doesn't want you to be released from what happened in the past. And that's why the ego's like, so whatever happens right now, even if it's peaceful, I'm going to react to it as if it was the past. Because I don't want to release the past. I want what happened to me in the past. I'm addicted and committed to what happened to me in the past.
So
yes?
You were talking earlier about the ego sends you out for destruction.
Yes.
So that's how it's destroying. Because it's using the past to destroy the present.
That's exactly right.
It's destroying the present.
That's right. The ego's purpose is destruction, and that's how it accomplishes its destructive purposes. It has you react to the present as if it were the past. And that's how, and then here you were, all that was happening around you was love and safety and abundance, and you just freaking destroyed that. You just destroyed all that. And now all you have is the trauma from the past. Well, that's exactly what the ego is like. Ego's like,
Yeah.
yes, I got my destructive purposes accomplished.
You might be.
Yep. Thank you. I just got one more lifetime. Cha-ching! All right. That's what the ego's up to. So, all right. Okay, so we're going to stop here. I'm going to put a tag here so we know where to start next week. Beautiful. All right, so now what we're going to do is integration meditation. If you're only just joining us now, feel free to go back to the beginning. This section was intense and powerful. It was like an ego dissection, ego 101, for the purpose of outing the ego. Why? So that you can take your power back and stop consenting to be your ego's host. The ego is only wants you as its host to accomplish its purposes, which is destruction. And until you get what the ego is up to and what it is about, you will continue to say yes, and you will continue to be used for the ego's purposes, which is destruction. Okay, hearing this and using this enables you to see what the ego is up to and to say no, and to discover and to experience the heaven, which is here and now. That's where heaven is. That's where the doorway to heaven is. That's where the ticket is into the guiltless world, the real world. To heaven is present moment, not what happened in the past, but what's happening right here and now. That is eternal. All right. Beautiful. I love it. Okay. So I'm just going to do announcements for a minute or so, and then we're going to do the integration meditation for a few minutes. All right. So announcements are this. I do 2 live streams a week, Mondays and Wednesdays, 7 to 8:30 p.m. Mountain Time. On Mondays, I have been at the Rocky Mountain Miracle Center and on Facebook Live. I don't know if I'll be at the Rocky Mountain Miracle Center for long live, but I will be Facebook live stream every Monday, 7 to 8:30 p.m. On Mondays, like today, we do random number generator, Miracle Roulette, trusting that Spirit knows exactly what we need to hear, like tonight. And then on Wednesdays, I do A Course in Miracles, the complete and annotated edition of A Course in Miracles, which is the latest edition of A Course in Miracles, which includes the 45,000 words that came through the scribe Helen Schuckman that were left out of this edition and the next edition of A Course in Miracles. So I do that every Wednesday live on Facebook here from Miracle Park. On Tuesdays, Greg does a beautiful synthesis of A Course in Miracles in the Bible from 7 to 8:30 p.m. Mountain Time. Beautiful channeling synthesis, powerful channeling. I highly recommend. Facebook, 7 to 8:30 p.m. live stream. All right. Also, beautiful. Irene says, Anna, it's been 4 years now that I've been consistently studying with you twice a week. Wow, that's incredible. 4 years. Wow, that blows my mind. It doesn't seem like 4 years at all. But yet it seems like a few lifetimes, so strange. Also, I'm a holistic psychotherapist, and I have been a therapist for many years, and I have developed a psychotherapeutic niche called Miracle Psychotherapeutics, where I offer psychotherapy to folks like you who could use some support while going through a transition of some kind, but they want it through A Course in Miracles perspective. So I'm available one-on-one for that, either on Skype or phone or video. So if you are going through a transition and you would like some support in how to interpret it from this A Course in Miracles perspective, and you would like to hear what A Course in Miracles would say to do during this time, I'm available for that. The best way to reach me to schedule a Miracle Psychotherapeutic session is to either private message me on Messenger or to go to my website, annakujawa.com, ANNAKUJAWA.com. Find my phone number somewhere on my website and text me. That's the best way to reach me. Also, if you would like to watch other of my classes from many, over the years and many different topics, then go to my YouTube channel. My name, Anna Kujawa, ANNAKUJAWA. And there on my channel, you can see all my classes, and that's all there is. So it's an easy way to watch, to just binge when you need to on A Course in Miracles through me. If you would like to support my Miracles ministry, then one way to do that is to like and share and subscribe on my YouTube channel, or to post this class to your Facebook feed. That is a way that you can support this ministry if you would like to extend it and share it and increase its power to move around the world. Also, if you would like to make a contribution, a financial expression of appreciation to this Miracles ministry, you can go to my website, and on the services we offer page, I have a PayPal button, and you can make a contribution. And to all of you who have done that, I thank you from the bottom of my heart, truly. This is what I do. As my way to be helpful to humanity at this time. And so I appreciate your support of this effort. That's what I'm about, helping the world to wake up just like you. And so every time you contribute to this ministry, you are supporting that effort, and I profoundly appreciate it. I really do. All right, so that is the announcements, and now we're going to do the integration meditation, and where we take the ideas and we use them. So what I want you to do is to close your eyes and take a breath, and just breathe. And just notice how you feel right now having heard these ideas. How do these ideas feel in your mind, your heart, your body, your emotions? And how does it feel to hear these ideas in a circle that we co-create when we come together to listen to these healing ideas? And just notice. For as much as your ego is afraid of these ideas in this curriculum, how does it feel to hear these ideas when you actually allow yourself to listen? Now I want you to ask yourself, I want you to see if you understand a little bit better now why you may be afraid of this course. Do you understand a little bit better any resistance you have to this course? I do. And I want you to tell yourself, I'm afraid of this course because this is a course on love, and I am love. I am afraid to be wrong about everything else that I thought I was besides love. And I don't want to be wrong about everything else that I thought everybody else was besides love. I don't want to be wrong. I've been anxious and afraid about being wrong, about all the things that I decided and all the things that I believed, all the things that I've been defending with my righteous wrath. I don't want to be wrong. I'm afraid I might die if I was wrong about everything I believed. I learned that it's not safe to be wrong. So now I'd rather die than be wrong. I'd rather send love away than be wrong. And that's just a mistake. That's my call for love. It's not a sin. It's not a sin. My function here is learning. My function here is healing. It's no sin to be wrong. It's no sin to be mistaken. Because I'm only here to learn. I'm only here to heal. I do not need to feel guilty about learning. I do not need to feel guilty about being mistaken. I do not need to feel guilty or be afraid of being wrong about everything that I had decided about guilt being real. Take a breath. I do not need to feel guilty that what I had really wanted was hell and oblivion so that I could be right. That was just a mistake. That was my call for love. I'm only here to learn and to heal. No guilt. It's just a mistake. It's safe to be wrong. And now I want to be wrong. I realized that I would be better off if I was wrong about everything that I decided about the world. I realized that I'd be better off if I was wrong. Because what I had decided was the truth was that I was guilty and they were guilty and they deserve vengeance and I deserve vengeance. So happy to be wrong. So happy. So happy to be wrong. I'd much rather be wrong than continue on with hell and oblivion as my so-called life. And now I've decided that I'm going to start questioning my guilt and my hatred. And I'm not going to question A Course in Miracles, the truth. And now I want to be just obsessed about the present, what's true now, what's happening now, as I used to be about the past. And now when my ego tempts me with the past and what happened in the past and why I should feel guilty about what happened in the past and why I should feel angry about the past, now I'm going to see what my ego is trying to do. It's trying to make my future just like my past without an intervening present. And I say no. I want a future different from my past. I want a future different from my past. And so now when the ego tempts me with judgment and guilt about the past, I am going to say no. I do not want my past again. And so I am going to say no to that temptation. And I'm going to ask God or Spirit, what is the truth right now? I want you to bring to your awareness a situation right now where you are feeling anger or guilt about something that happened in the past. And I want you to ask yourself, do I want this future? Do I want this past in my future? Do I want this past to be my future? Do I want to go through that again? If the answer is no, I want you to tell yourself, no. I want a future unlike my past. And so I am wrong about my past. My past did not happen as I remember it. My past did not happen as my ego wants me to remember it. What happened in the past as I remember it is only what how my ego interpreted it. My past is not happening now. Spirit of truth, I want to see and understand what is happening now. Show me the love around me now. Show me the blessings around me now. Show me that my present has not been affected by my past. I still deserve all the love, all the abundance, all the joy, all the freedom. Spirit, show me what's true now. Help me to be focused here and now in what is true now and forever and for everyone. No exceptions. Only love is real. And breathe. I am not my past. I am only love. All that happened in the past was love. All that is happening now is love. All that will happen in the future is love. And everything else is my own wishful thinking. And for that, I am so grateful, so glad that I have been wrong. And only love is real. Thank you, God. Thank you, God. Beautiful. And take a breath and bring your awareness back to the room. Good job, guys. Thank you for joining this healing circle. I appreciate that you have used your precious time to join this healing circle. I thank you and all the world that is saved and released when we join like this thanks you. Good work, lights of the world. I appreciate you, and I'll see you next time I see you. Don't forget to check out my YouTube channel and like and subscribe. Thank you.